What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Goblin, and today I'm coming in with a story time for you guys about the time that I took a little too much Xanax and got a little too barred out. But before I dive into that, I would like to mention a couple things. First off, drop a like on this video if you guys enjoy, and second off, be sure to watch this gameplay because I just got the HG40 in a supply drop today, and let me tell you, this gun's fucking awesome. Like, I was dicking kids in this game. So be sure to drop a like on this video if you guys enjoy this story, and let's dive into it. So, too much Xanax. Now, this was back when I was relatively new to popping Xans, and, I don't do it anymore. Fuck Xanax. Just, Xans are shit. Just don't do them. You don't want to get into it. If you do them already, that's your choice, but if you don't do them yet, don't get into it. Just don't. Believe me, it's not fucking worth it. But anyways, so at this particular day, it was a Friday after school, and I wanted to turn up. I wanted to have a little bit of fun. Little old Goblin wanted to just celebrate, So I went over to my plug's house, and I was originally going there to just buy a little bit of weed. So I picked up, a quad, I'm pretty sure. I got 7 or 8 grams. And he mentioned that he had some Xans, and I was like, oh boy. Oh, wow, this sounds like a fun time. And he was doing them for 5 a pop. I was like, okay, sounds pretty good. Let me get 3 of them ladders. Now, I was relatively new to popping Xans. Popping 3 would have had me off the shits, and it did. It had me completely retarded. So, I bought 3 of them, and I popped 2 at first, and then I saved the 3rd. And, my tolerance for Xans wasn't really existent at this point. I'd, done them a couple times, but, I was still, like I said, relatively new to it. So, I popped the 2, and I was sitting there, and after a little while, we'd smoked a little bit, it hit me. I was just stuck. I was dysfunctional, just completely stuck, but, still, aware of my consciousness. I was still aware of things. I was just really barred out, and I was just sitting there completely stuck. Felt like someone had fucking nailed me against the couch. I just could not get up. I was sitting on this dude's couch in his garage, and we were smoking blunts, and I just could not move a fucking muscle. Now, it wasn't that bad yet. It really wasn't. I was kind of barred out, but, I was still having a good time. So, we went up to the McDonald's that was 10 minutes away. There wasn't a McDonald's very close. We went over to the McDonald's 10 minutes away, and my friend drove me there. It was me and 2 other friends. We're going to call them Kevin and Chris. All right, so it was me, Kevin, and Chris. And we were sitting in McDonald's eating some food, and this dude who I wasn't very fond of at the time, we were good friends now, but I wasn't very fond of him at the time, he came into the McDonald's, and we had some past beef, we weren't very cool, but I was really barred out, so I was all chill, and I still had the 3rd Xan in my pocket, and I was like, whatever, let's just relax. He came in, and I was cool in it, and he walks up to my booth with his friend with him, and I owed him a little bit of money, but I didn't really owe him money, but he thought that I did, but I didn't. It's a long story, and he's like, when are you gonna have my money? And I looked at him, and it's kind of hard for me to remember the exact details, so I'm gonna be as specific as I can be, because I was really barred out, and off bars you don't remember things very well. So if someone ever says they remember a night perfectly when they were barred out, they're lying. Pro tip right there. But anyways, so I was sitting there in this booth with my buddy Kevin and my other buddy Chris, and this dude walks up. Let's call him Phil. All right, so Phil walks up, and he's like, hey, you got my fucking money, bro? And I was like, I don't owe you money. And he was like, I said, you got my fucking money. He slammed his fist on the table, and I was just laughing at this point. I was so barred out. This was just so thoroughly entertaining to me. I was just laughing. I was like, nah, I don't got your money. He's like, when you finna have it? And I was like, I don't know, 2 weeks. And he was like, okay. So he walks back out alone, and then he comes back in with his friend, and he goes, never mind, I want my money now. And I was like, no, that's not happening. And I was really barred out. So I was just so calm and not really realizing the situation. And he was like, all right, you want to take this outside? And I was like, no, man, I'm just cooling it. And he was like, all right, fuck you. So he went out of there and he left. And it was me, Kevin, and Chris. And Chris had to go home. So Chris ended up going home. And then it was just me and Kevin. And we didn't really have anything to do at this point. We were just sitting at McDonald's with no car, nothing to do. So me and Kevin decided, why don't we call up some people, figure out what we could do? So we called up my buddy. We're going to call him Isaac. We called up Isaac, and we were like, hey, me and Kevin trying to kick it. You trying to smoke a little bit? Because we had some weed left too. He was like, yeah, of course, I'll come pick you up. So Isaac comes and picks us up. We're all cooling it in his car, and we're just driving around. And at this point, I popped the 3rd Xan. I was in his car, and I was like, all right, fuck it. We're popping the 3rd. So I don't really know why I did that, quite honestly. I was pretty fucked up, so I wasn't really thinking straight. That's the only reason I could possibly think of me doing that for. So I popped the 3rd one, and this is where things get a little more difficult to remember. So from what I remember, we were sitting in his car, and we were just driving around looking for a bong. And a lot of this is what other people told me instead of what I remember, because I had to ask my friends what happened the night before. So we were driving around looking for a bong because we had no blunts and nothing to smoke with. We just had weed, like a weed and a lighter, and we weren't going to do the classic hand method. Fuck that. So we were driving around looking for someone with a bong or like a bubbler, just something that we could get some decent hits out of, and we couldn't find anything. And at this point, it was like 11 p.m. So finally, Isaac was like, all right, guys, I got to go soon. We haven't found anything. We'll just smoke another day. So he drops us back off at McDonald's, and I'm like, all right, well, we're going to have someone else come pick us up. So I hit up a friend of mine. We're going to call her Shelly. I hit up Shelly, and I'm like, hey, what you doing, shorty? And she's like, oh, I'm just cooling it. You want to hang out? And I'm like, yeah. So her and her friend come pick me and Kevin up. And by this point, I'm just completely fucking bonkered. And it's very hard for me to remember much after this, so I'm going off of what my friends had told me I did that night. So apparently we were at the gas station, and I got out of the car and just fell over. Like, just fell over on the concrete. Like, I tried to, like, go into the gas station, and I just couldn't make it. It just did not happen. I just collapsed, and I could just picture myself just like, imagine some dude getting out of his car, stumbling around, and then just dropping face down on the concrete. Like, that's essentially, from my understanding, what occurred. So, I dropped on the concrete. I just could not walk, so they had to help me get back in the car, and we smoked a little bit more. They told me that we smoked a bowl or two, but I don't remember it, nor do I really know if I felt it, because I was probably so barred out. I don't think any drug could have, given me any impact at that point. I was fucked up. So finally, they had to go home. So they started driving people home. They drove Kevin home first, and then they dropped me off next, because I live right down the street from Kevin. So they dropped me off, and I got out of the car, and, like, shit was just falling out of my hands. Like, I didn't remember I had things on my laps. Like, I dropped my wallet, and Shelly had to come help me pick it up and give it to me. And then she had to, like, walk me to my garage door. And somehow I remembered the PIN code for my garage door, because my front door is always locked and I don't have a key. So somehow I remembered the garage code. So opened the garage, came in, and I remember this pretty well. I remember I came in, and I was stumbling, and I tried walking up the stairs, because everything on my house is on the second level, like I said in a previous video. So I tried walking up the stairs, and I just kept falling. I couldn't do it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was like the Boston Marathon. It was fucking ridiculous. So my mom had to come down and help me up, and she was like, what have you been doing tonight? And I just looked at her, and I was like, I'm drunk. And, like, I remember that really well, because, like, I just remember how funny that is to me. Like, I remember just telling her I'm drunk is like sitting there like, wow, I'm barred the fuck out right now. And I was just like, oh, I drank too much. And she was like, go to your room and go to sleep right now. So I went in my room, and I crashed immediately. And I woke up what I thought was the next day. And I started calling up friends. I thought it was a Saturday. I was like, yeah, let's kick it. Started calling up friends, and they're like, I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, it's Sunday, bro. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you fucking with me? Like, because I didn't understand. So finally I went and I checked the calendar on my phone. I was like, oh my God. And I still didn't believe it. So I went out and asked my mom what day it was, and she's like, Sunday. And I'm like, did I really just sleep through my Saturday? I slept for like 28 hours because I was so barred out and slumped. And I didn't wake up until Sunday morning at like 10 a.m. And I went to bed at like midnight on a Friday. It was fucked. So that is my story of taking too much Xanax for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like on this video and share your experiences with Xanax in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.